The sound of hurried footsteps echoed in the grand marble hallway as Ayan Khan entered his mansion earlier than anyone expected. His suitcase was still in hand, the faint smell of airport clinging to his clothes. He had returned from Dubai 2 days before schedule, tired of endless meetings and glittering parties where laughter sounded hollow. He longed for something real, for the warmth of home. But what he walked into that night was something he could never have imagined. From the foyer, he heard raised voices, sharp and cruel, cutting through the silence of his once peaceful home. At first, he thought it might be the television. But then, he froze as the unmistakable sound of a muffled cry reached his ears. It was a sound he hadn't heard since childhood, a soft, pained cry he knew belonged to only one person in this world. His mother. His heart thudded violently as he stepped closer, careful not to make a sound. When he peered around the corner into the living room, the scene hit him like a thunderbolt. His fiancée, Zara, the woman he had planned to marry in just a few months, stood towering over his frail, gray-haired mother. And with a coldness that sent chills down his spine, Zara's foot struck the old woman's side. "Get up, you useless woman!" Zara hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you're the queen of this house just because your son is rich? You're nothing but a burden." Ayan's vision blurred with rage. His hand clenched around the suitcase handle until his knuckles turned white. For a moment, he thought he might storm in and grab Zara by the arm, but something told him to wait. His mother struggled to her knees, clutching her ribs, her frail body trembling. "Please, Beta," his mother whispered weakly, "I did not mean to upset you. I only said you should respect the home you will one day run." "Is that wrong?" Zara let out a cruel laugh. "Respect? You dare lecture me? Once I marry your son, this house will be mine. And then, trust me, you'll regret every word you've said to me. Maybe I'll send you off to some nursing home far away, so I won't have to look at your pathetic face every day." Those words cut deeper than any knife could. Ayan's blood boiled, but he forced himself to stay silent a little longer. He wanted to hear every word that came out of Zara's mouth, so there would be no doubt in his mind about the truth. His mother lowered her gaze, tears slipping down her cheeks. She didn't respond, perhaps too weak to argue, perhaps too broken to try. That was when Zara's hand shot out and slapped the glass of water from the old woman's trembling hands. The glass shattered on the floor, water spilling across the marble. Zara's voice grew sharper. "Clean that up, old woman. That's your worth, nothing more than a servant in this house." Something inside Ayan snapped. He could no longer stand by. With a roar that seemed to shake the very walls of the mansion, he dropped his suitcase and stormed into the room. "Enough," he bellowed. Zara's body stiffened, and she spun around, her face draining of color when her eyes locked onto his. Ayan," she stammered, her arrogance faltering for the first time. His mother looked up, her teary eyes widening in disbelief. "Beta, you're home?" Ayan rushed to his mother's side, gently helping her to the sofa. He touched her arm with trembling hands, his anger barely contained. "Ami, I'm so sorry I wasn't here." Then, his eyes turned to Zara, and the warmth in them turned to fire. "I came home early to surprise you," he said, his voice low and deadly calm, "but the surprise I received. I will never forget it for as long as I live." Zara tried to regain her composure, her lips curving into a nervous smile. "Ayan, please, you don't understand. She provoked me. She insults me constantly when you're not around. I only defended myself." "Defended yourself?" Ayan thundered, rising to his full height. His voice shook with controlled rage. "By kicking a woman old enough to be your mother? By threatening to throw her out of her own son's house? By humiliating the very person who gave me life?" Zara flinched at his tone but still tried to weave her lies. "You've only seen one side, Ayan. Don't be fooled by her tears. She's manipulative, she wants to control you, to keep you tied to her forever. If you marry me, I promise things will be different. We'll travel, we'll build a life without interference. Her words fell on him like poison, but instead of weakening him, they only solidified his resolve. He stepped closer, his face inches from hers. Zara, wealth and beauty blinded me once. I thought you were the woman I could build my future with. But tonight, you've shown me the truth. You don't love me. You don't respect me. Because if you did, you would never hurt the one person I cherish above all else. His voice cracked slightly as he turned toward his mother. This woman you call a burden carried me in her womb, worked day and night so I could become the man I am today. She sacrificed everything so I could live with dignity. And you dare raise your hand against her? Zara's mask finally cracked, her eyes hardening. So what now? You'll throw me away? After all the money you've spent on me? The engagement, the gifts, the luxury trips, everything? You can't just toss me aside like trash. Ayan let out a bitter laugh. Trash? That's exactly what you've proven yourself to be tonight. All the money in the world cannot buy compassion. And a heart like yours is worth nothing to me. The silence in the room was deafening. Zara's face twisted with rage, but when she looked at Ayan's fiery eyes and the protective way he held his mother close, she knew it was over. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking against the marble until the front door slammed behind her. Ayan let out a long breath and turned back to his mother, kneeling before her. Ami, forgive me, he whispered. I was blind. I thought wealth would bring happiness, but I see now, without respect, without love, all of it means nothing. His mother's frail hand brushed against his cheek. Beta, I don't need riches. I only need your kindness. Your father and I raised you to know the value of family, not gold. Her voice trembled with emotion. I prayed every day that Allah would guide you to the truth. Tonight, he answered my prayers. Tears rolled down Ayan's face as he embraced her gently, mindful of her pain. From now on, I promise, you will never feel unloved or disrespected in this house again. And he meant every word. The days that followed were filled with quiet healing. Ayan cancelled the wedding, ignoring the gossip and whispers that spread like wildfire through the city. People were shocked that a millionaire would end his engagement so suddenly, but Ayan didn't care. His loyalty was not to society's expectations but to the woman who had raised him with love and sacrifice. Instead of spending his time chasing deals abroad, he began working closer to home. He invested not only in his businesses but also in the lives of the poor in his community, building homes for widows, funding education for orphans, and opening free medical clinics. Each act of kindness was dedicated silently to his mother, who watched with pride as her son grew not only in wealth but in heart. One evening, months later, as they sat together on the veranda watching the sun set, his mother placed her hand over his. You know, Beta, she said softly, money comes and goes. But the true measure of a man is how he treats those who can do nothing for him. Remember this always. Ayan smiled, his heart lighter than it had been in years. I will never forget, Ami. You are my greatest treasure. The mansion, once echoing with Zara's cruelty, now rang with laughter and love. And Ayan learned the lesson that would guide him for the rest of his life. Wealth may fill a house, but only respect and compassion can make it a home. In the end, it wasn't his millions that defined him, it was the choice he made that night, to stand with his mother, to honor her sacrifices, and to walk away from false love no matter how beautiful it appeared. That choice didn't just change his life. It inspired everyone around him. Because when word spread of what had happened, the millionaire who chose his mother over a heartless fiancée, people were reminded of the values too often forgotten in the chase for money and status. They were reminded that no matter how high you rise, you must never forget the ones who held you up when you had nothing. And so, Ayan's story became not one of scandal, but of strength, love, and a son's unbreakable bond with his mother. A story that whispered to every listener, true wealth